Hey, this is Simon. We have a lot of fun with our spoiler section and we want more of you to have access. So we've added the spoiler perk to the Landed Knight tier. Follow the link to buy me a coffee in the show notes and sign up to hear the future. Thanks. Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 307 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we're discussing chapter 35 of A Dance with Dragons, which is Jon 7.
And as always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. Unless, of course, you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers. Well, then we are going to spoil things for you. But regardless, hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the... Oh, and in the news and correspondence, Simon is going to attempt to speak German. So
That's right.
I caveating this with Simon cannot speak German. Okay, but it's not going to stop him trying. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide some additional information about the characters and other things of note in this chapter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Last we talked, we were making some quick changes for my big weekend this past weekend, and
because you had your birthday, and I haven't actually wished you happy birthday yet. Happy birthday, my friend. I know
you were thinking
it was a big one. It was a big one.
It was, yes.
It was the big 3-0.
I wish. My son's nearing the big 3-0. Yes, well, thank you. It was
Did you
a big
have a nice
one.
time?
Yeah, Stacy did an amazing job of just like planning events Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just she really made it special. I had a really, really great time. So
my let's call it 30th was mid-pandemic, so I didn't have
yes, yeah. Much less access and opportunity there.
Yeah.
So, no, I had a really great time. I did.
I'm sorry that I missed it. After saying I wouldn't miss it.
I wouldn't miss it, but for. Now, I see here in Witty Banter, every time I look at this page, there's been another item added. So I better get it over to you. How are you doing?
So the reason I missed your birthday was because we went to see Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, and Corrosion of Conformity.
Wow! Yes.
Yes. So some heavy metal music, and it was really fun. Actually, I was not. This is definitely more Carson's thing than mine, but they were really good. COC, who are a local band, who we have a connection to, they were particularly good. They were really good, I thought.
Yeah.
They were
great.
Third billing, so they just played right at the start. The place wasn't even half full by the time they played, but they were really good. Alice Cooper, who I had no interest in, was really very, very good. It was very entertaining. Yeah. Very
How
theatrical.
old is he?
Both lead singers for both of the main bands are in their 70s.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah. And Judas Priest, who I was looking forward to, I was all right. Judas Priest, he sings kind of like high, he sings kind of falsetto, and that doesn't work so well as you get older. It sounds a bit like,
I can see,
like an old lady on helium. but an old lady on helium wearing leather and riding a motorbike, on the stage.
Right, yeah, a rocker old lady, but an old lady nonetheless. Yeah. That reminds me of Molly. When she was little, I was playing Janis Joplin in the car. It was Bobby McGee was playing.
Fantastic song. I mean, yes. I honestly, you've just gone up a notch in my estimation of you as a parent, right there.
I've tried.
Just to be clear, I have a high estimation of you as a parent. You're much better than I am. You actually like your kids.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. I think.
Yeah.
Well, so I do try, but Stacy, like, 180s me with the current day pop music that she's always shoving down their ears. But so she was little. She was probably 4 or 5, something like that. And Bobby McGee was playing, and Molly goes, "Turn off this music. She sounds like an old lady." So
Didn't that poor woman die at the age of 28?
I think 27, but yeah.
27. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess she could also have been the front person for Judas Priest
yeah, indeed.
in the
So
time.
while we were on our trip, we found a brew pub or brewery,
Yeah.
which had a Family Feud night. It wasn't technically Family Feud. It was a company called Survey Says, but same thing. Family Feud, concept. Family Fortunes. They ask 100 people, and you're not supposed to get the right answer. You're supposed to get the most popular answer. Was the idea.
Gotcha.
And Carson knew about this. We went to this place because she wanted to play this,
cool.
And there were prizes, and we came in second place.
Nice.
And we got a $20 gift voucher, which we drank our way through very quickly.
Well, congratulations on all your success.
Yeah, we were very happy about that. I've kept the thing, so on the next Sustainer call, I'll throw a few juicy questions out.
Oh, yes, please do.
Actually,
that'll be fun.
I'll throw one at you right now.
Okay.
We asked 100 people to name an athlete who had been involved in a scandal.
Tiger Woods? Uh-oh.
The way no, it's a reasonable answer. The way the scoring went was he only knew the top 3 answers. You got 100 points if you got the top answer, 50 points if you got the second answer, and 25 if you got the third answer. I think Tiger Woods was the second answer.
My other thought was Lance Armstrong.
That would have got you 100 points. That was the top one.
Yes.
Because I think the nature of the question was it led you to the sort of like it had to be a sporting scandal, not because the third answer was O.J. Simpson, and I was like, that's not really a scandal; it was a crime, you know.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So there's more where that came from.
Okay.
And the other news I have, the reason I was asking you about borrowing money before we came on,
Sorry. I gotta go get my wallet.
was Carson wrecked the car and the airbags went off and the car was totaled.
Yes, you told me about this.
And today we had to buy a new car. Well, not a new car. We went to the local CarMax, but the local CarMax was very, very nice. They were nice people in CarMax, and a guy called Scotty and a lady called Michelle looked after us. So
did you go to the one by me or the one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, drove past your house on the way home.
Really? Huh. You should have beeped or stopped in or something.
I was looking, actually. There were people walking, and I was like, I know you often walk, so I was really looking out for you and Stacey, but I didn't see you.
We did walk this morning, but that was pre 8 a.m.
Yeah. I will say I was driving behind Carson in the new car, so I wasn't taking my eyes too far off the road. Right. Last thing I need is... So, in the last 6 days, you've wrecked 3 of your cars. All right, well, let's get down to business. How do we leave Jon Snow? Well, in the last Jon chapter, he was sending out rangers to try and locate the missing wildlings, who were believed to be led by Tormund Giantsbane and others. He was receiving unwelcome news of his sister Arya's betrothal to Ramsay Bolton, but Melisandre assured him that she'd seen Arya arrive at the wall, having escaped the Boltons. Since then, we also saw Jon in Melisandre's chapter, where 1/3 of his ranging party came back decapitated, that Rattleshirt was in fact Mance Rayder under a glamour created by Melisandre, and that he had volunteered to... Mance had volunteered to rescue Arya and was headed south with a party of spearwise. Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
All right, well, the weather dawns unusually mild, and Jon decides that today is the day for the new recruits who follow the old gods to make their vows in the weirwood clearing where he made his own. He informs Ed, who's relieved to be being left behind. Ghost makes a superior bodyguard. Bowen Marsh doesn't approve the plan. Let them use the sept. Jon doesn't agree. These men are giving their lives, and he'll not make them give up their religion too. Some of these recruits are Southerners, Marsh protests, but Jon is resolute. He leaves Bowen Marsh in charge. Don't be surprised if the locks have been changed when he gets back.
Jon leads his men north through the gate. 10 seasoned rangers, 6 new recruits, Iron Emmett and himself. He knows each man by name. Leathers and Jax are wildling converts bound for the Rangers. Emric also to the Rangers. Horse to the Builders. Aaron and Satin to the Stewards. Ghost bolts for the tree line right after passing through the tunnel. Jon knows he wants to hunt. His question is, what?
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. Iron Emmett rides alongside Jon. They speak of trouble at Harden's Tower, or Harlot's Tower, as Emmett calls it, which is
Jon does not join in on that joke.
No, he doesn't
Frowns
find that
disapprovingly.
Funny at all.
Yes.
The tower is acting as the barracks for the 19 wildling women from Molestown who signed on to aid the Night's Watch. Some brothers tried to treat it like a brothel and are now in the ice cells. Jon explains his plan to garrison 3 more castles with free folk to reduce the tensions. The castle Longbarrow will be entirely made up of the 19 wildling women. When Emmett asks what poor sap he plans to tap for that command, Jon says he's looking at him. Dollar's Ed will be his second and his steward. Emmett suggests giving the Magnar of Then a command. Jon would love to, but the Magnar hates Jon, blaming him for his father's death.
Jon sends Tom Barleycorn ahead and Big Little and Luke of Longtown to flank the column. As the sun slants low, Jon feels Ghost's senses bleeding into his own. Ghost reappears with Tom, who reports 9 wildlings are in the grove, mostly women, 1 child, 1 giant, some perhaps dead. Jon decides to continue on foot, spreading his men into a crescent to close on the grove quietly. Night is falling as they advance. Jon draws Longclaw and signals the rush.
The grove holds 9 weirwoods, each with a different carved face. Around the dying fire huddle 9 wildlings, 2 already corpses, 1 near death. The child wails at the sight of black cloaks. The giant heaves himself up, maul in hand, ready to fight. Jon restrains Ghost and calls for peace. He knows a battle here would mean needless slaughter. Before swords can clash, Leathers steps forward, speaking in the old tongue. After a guttural exchange with the giant, the huge creature lowers his weapon. They want no fight, Leathers tells Jon.
The wildlings are a ragged remnant of Stannis' rout. A mother and child, 2 old men, a wounded Then, a frostbitten Hornfoot man, strangers to one another who staggered here to die by their gods. They had heard stories that the Watch burned those who yielded, even Mance Rayder. Jon offers them food, shelter, and safety at the wall, promising no flames. The woman doubts a crow's word until Jon names himself Lord Commander and son of Eddard Stark. He orders the horses brought up. They will not linger.
As stars come out, Emmett calls the 6 recruits to kneel before the weirwoods. In the faint glow of embers and starlight, they speak the ancient words. Jon sinks to one knee, praying for the gods to protect these men, and Arya, wherever she is, and to give him the wisdom and courage he needs. As the vows continue, Ghost presses against Jon's shoulder, and Jon smells fear, sweat, and the giant's musk. When the words are done, Jon rises and names them brothers of the Night's Watch.
The return is slow and dark. Those who cannot ride are strapped across the horses like sacks. Even the corpses are lashed to saddles at Jon's command. He has a use for them. The giant lumbers along, knocking snow from low branches. Near dawn, the wall looms. Dolorous Ed opens the gate and quips about needing butter to slide the giant through. Jon assigns Leathers to feed and watch their huge guest. The living wildlings are tended. The dead go to the ice cells.
In his solar, Jon finds a golden sealed letter from Stannis. Deepwood Motte has fallen. The mountain clans have joined him, as have stragglers from around the north. The Mormonts came to Stannis' aid, burning the Ironborn's ships. His force now marches on Winterfell. Stannis promises to save Jon's sister if he can. Jon is unsure how he feels. Once he dreamed of glory like King Darren I, the young dragon. Now he has foes and doubts. He can't defeat the former without vanquishing the latter.
Yeah. So one thing we skipped over a little bit in the summary, but one thing I liked about this chapter is various points Jon is thinking about the sort of, I mean, we got it in his conversation with Iron Emmett about manning the forts, but also he was thinking about trying to grow vegetables for the winter and how they would need clear glass, and the skills to make clear glass are not available at the wall. And he was thinking about trying to attract someone from Mere to come and work at the wall and teach others how to create clear glass so that vegetables could grow. He mentioned that they had greenhouses like that at Winterfell. So that's one way Winterfell was able to keep itself fed over the winter. So that technology exists. They just don't have the skills at the wall. So I just like the fact he is the Lord Commander and has to think of all these things, you know.
Right. Yeah. Even in all the chaos, in all the unique circumstances that are swirling about, the day-to-day operation is still something he has to be mindful of.
The other day-to-day thing he has to do is argue with Bowen Marsh.
That was a good transition there.
No matter what he does or says, Bowen Marsh disagrees.
Yeah, it's becoming a staple of the Jon chapters. Is Bowen Marsh. First, it was letting the wildlings through, not sealing the gates, recruiting the Molestown wildlings, sending ranging parties north of the wall, and now this idea to let this party say their vows in the weirwoods north of the wall. It's every chapter.
As always, I have a little bit of sympathy for Bowen Marsh. I still think his plan to block the tunnel made sense, because you don't need a lot of things passing north of the wall.
Right.
So I still think that one wasn't a terrible idea.
There's some merit, certainly.
And there's some merit here, and I've got something in pedantry to argue for why Bowen Marsh might have had a point here.
Yeah.
Just marginal, but yeah.
Well, I think Jon, I think Jon is right that his philosophy of we're asking these men to take a lifelong vow to make it mean something. It helps to do it the right way, and that the tradition is an important aspect for such things. It really helps bind these brothers together through this common sacred vow, especially when you're dealing with this vast array of backgrounds and where they're from in the realm and the existing code of ethics. Many of them are here because they didn't have a great code of ethics, and they're learning to be a cohesive unit.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
I think it's also a sort of a nice touch, and perhaps telling of the environment, that this isn't the first group of Southerners we've known to take their vows with the weirwood trees and the old gods. Sam did it. Sam was not raised in the faith of the old gods. But when you're there, when you stand on top of that wall and look out over the north, it's definitely easier to believe in the old gods than the seven, I would think. Absolutely. And also, if you're at the wall, then whatever faith you had in the seven hasn't served you that well to this point. Which I think was the point that Sam made right then. You know?
But I think Jon's already showing that he probably has the stuff to be a better Lord Commander than Bowen Marsh does. Bowen Marsh argues Satins from Old Town, the twins are from the Westerlands. The old gods are not their gods.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jon has, the wherewithal or whatever to say, I don't tell men what gods to worship. They can be from the South, and they chose to worship the old gods.
Yeah.
And that's up to them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's not like, you know what, if going to the weirwoods gave out candy, you might get people doing it. But there's nothing easy or comfortable about this particular way of doing things. So
Right.
there's a devoutness to those who choose it, for sure.
Very true. I thought there was also a neat scene when Bowen is comparing Jon's situation to Blackjack Bulware and Jon's uncle Benjen, about how they were seasoned rangers and they went out and never came back. And Jon says, I have something they don't, and then whistles for Ghost. And this huge direwolf, who up to that point was playing in the snow like a little puppy, shakes himself off and trots over, causing brothers to move and horses to panic. And it was just kind of a neat scene, like the power of this direwolf.
Yes. Be a good accoutrement for every member of the Night's Watch, I feel, to have a direwolf.
Yeah, that would be something.
Make a point of it. Yeah.
Although the Ghost did bound away seconds after passing under the wall. And I was like, I hope Marsh wasn't watching that bit. Really
He's scouting on ahead, So we remember that Jon attracted 63 free folk from Molestown to come back to the wall and help out. Leathers and Jacks are two of this company, and they're the first two to take the black. And of course, they aren't going to do their vows in front of anyone but the old gods. Right. So that's why they're coming along. But only 2 out of 63. We don't know how much time has elapsed. It's very difficult to measure time in this book, but we need more. We need more. Well, I mean, do we? If the 61 remaining promise to fight tooth and nail to keep the White Walkers and the Whites out, then it doesn't matter if they take the black, really. But
just
these
because
two
they didn't take the black doesn't. It just means they're not swearing the vow to join the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
The others can still be doing the jobs that they agreed to do.
I was slightly influenced there by Barristan Selmy trying to train up knights in Essex.
Right.
So I was thinking, these are the 61 are no use to me, but these 61 could be useful.
Yes.
We broke down where they were going to go. 3 of them were going to the Rangers, 1 to the Builders, and 2 to the Stewards. I just wonder if they need to start push things more towards the Builders and the Rangers at this point. Which members of the Night's Watch need someone else to wash their small clothes for them at this point? And
right.
You mentioned that Ian Emmett is to become the commander at Long Barrow. He's a Ranger. So you don't have to have been a steward. Being a steward isn't the only path to command,
Right. Yes.
Which is the one argument that was made for when Jon was chosen for the stewards, was that he was being groomed for command.
Very
but
true.
You don't have to have been that. So I would just think that 2 stewards out of 6 here is just a little bit too many. Let's get some more Rangers. And in particular, let's get some more builders. We need as many hands as possible building up these forts.
That is very true. Maybe it doesn't have to be so rigid. Like, couldn't they put more into the builders right now, and then once they get things developed, then they can shift people to stewards or rangers,
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Yeah. We finished building everything we need to build. What am I supposed to do now? Could you wash my small clothes? No, I'm a builder.
I'm a builder.
Could you go out north of the wall and kill a few wildlings? No, I'm a builder.
I'm just going to take the day off, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a double-edged sword there, because Leathers and Jacks are both the two wildlings, and they've been assigned to the Rangers. And yes, of course, they know the terrain north of the wall very well. They've spent their whole lives, and these are not young men. They have grandchildren.
Grandchildren, they said, yeah.
So that is great. They clearly would know it well. But it's also putting a bit of faith in them that they are going to stay true to the Night's Watch if there comes a situation between their new group and the group they'd been with their entire lives.
Yeah. I mean, they're making vows. They're making voluntary vows. They're not burning a weirwood branch at the behest of Stannis and Melisandre. They are voluntarily taking vows. These 2 get to be Rangers. The other 61 get to man the wall.
Yes, right. Yeah. And you see that the faith paid off when Leathers saved the day with the giant that we'll get to in a bit here.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because they would have had to fight that giant but for Leathers' presence. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And they also split up the twins. They've got Emmerich going to the Rangers and Aaron going to the Stewards. And I wondered if that was due to just their general skill. Maybe Emmerich was just better with the sword and, better suited to be a Ranger. Or if they were trying to help them develop relationships with other brothers rather than their own twin.
Being a sibling to twins, not a twin myself, but having siblings who are twins,
right?
As soon as our schools in England tend to be smaller than here, so there's usually in the first few years there's only one class per grade.
Right.
So they were in class together, but as soon as the classes split, they were split up. They were put in different classes. And I don't know, I never heard the reason, but what you're saying, get them to develop as individuals so as not to become dependent upon one another seems like the logical conclusion to that.
Yeah, I think so. I really think so. I mean, we don't know these characters very well yet, but I know when my mom, who's a twin, when she and my aunt were in early elementary school, they split them up for that exact reason, because when they were together, they just wanted to be together. They didn't really care about developing relationships. They separated them. And then according to my mom and aunt, then they spent the whole time worrying about how the other one was doing without them. So,
Isn't that, yeah. I wonder how true that is. I mean, I'm sure that they believe that was true, but I wonder how true it was at the moment. Were they actually worrying all the time, or did it just feel like it with hindsight that they were worrying all the time?
Yeah.
Because I think back to when my siblings were young and how much I worried about them when they started school. Whenever, especially the twins, because they were younger than me, when they would start a school that I'd already been at for a couple of years, I'd be like, oh my God, this place is going to eat them alive. Those poor babies,
Right.
And I would worry about them. And looking back on it, Saint Simon feels like this incredible guy who just cared so deeply about his siblings. I'm also the guy.
I'm sure that was true.
Ruthlessly mean to those two constantly, way worse than anyone at school ever was. So perhaps there's a sort of like a rose-tinted view to my recollection there. Are we off track?
But slightly, but we're off track in a good way. We're talking twins here.
But there's trouble for some of the people who came from Molestown.
Yes.
I was teeing you up there.
Right. Well, so what's happening is the women have been quartered in Hardin's Tower, and some of the Black Brothers were caught trying to take advantage of the fact that there were women in Castle Black, which is not a usual situation.
Is Hardin's Tower in Castle Black?
Yes.
It is. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and so Emmerich says, well, you need to put guards on the tower. And Jon said, who's going to guard the guards? Because, you gotta find the right people. You need to find men that you can trust, or else having guards is no help at all. And there are spearwives in the group, and I think there's 12 of the 19 are spearwives, and they seem like likely the best guards that he's going to find.
Good point. I was going to make the same point myself, that they would actually do a very good job of it. It made me think a little bit. I mean, like, obviously, sequestered men, when exposed to women, or especially men of very questionable morals to begin with.
That is part of the issue, yes.
Mm-hmm. Are probably going to try something untoward. But it made me think about when these women weren't here, and the members of the Night's Watch would visit Molestown and visit the brothels in Molestown. When did they get time off, and where did they get their money? It feels like there's no time off for the Night's Watch. It feels like it's a 24/7 job, and it doesn't pay anything.
For the first part, I think they were sneaking away in the night, probably, or
I see. When they should have been sort of sleeping, right? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
For how they get the money, they must have been bartering or something, because they don't draw a wage,
right? So, yeah.
Unless they had family who was sending them money.
Yeah, putting money in the commissary for them. Yeah.
They had a side hustle going. They were selling brown cloaks on the side, maybe. Yeah. But it could be a major issue, because if a brother of the Night's Watch kills or sexually assaults one of these wildling women, it could cause this already tenuous situation to erupt into a really bad scene.
And how is Jon, son of Ned Stark Snow, going to react to that? He's going to behead them for
yes,
sure.
He is.
No question about it.
And that's going to cause issues in its own right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, sneaking off to sleep with a prostitute is one thing, but sexually assaulting a volunteer, that's a different level of breaking your vows, I would say.
Yeah. So Jon's trying really hard to get Longbarrow up and running, and Longbarrow is the 5th castle east of Castle Black and the 3rd castle west of Eastwatch. Okay. So it's on the eastern side of the wall.
So a good distance away, for sure.
Yeah. And of course, we mentioned Iron Emmett will be in command of that castle, and Ed Tullett is going to be his second in steward. And I think for this unique situation, you need men, your most trusted, honorable brothers that you have, because that's a very unique situation.
Yeah. I think Ed's a good choice as well, because I think he would leave the women alone just on the assumption that they would never sleep with him anyway.
That does seem to fit his level of self-esteem. Although you do need men with good self-esteem, because their brothers are surely going to poke fun, even shame them for overseeing this castle of women. Terms like Commander of the Maiden Vault or Mother House will surely be used, and that's from the respectful brothers. So brothel will probably be used in worse terms for the less respectful brothers.
I think Ed is a great choice for this. I think he is. He doesn't care.
I agree. Yeah.
He's so dour anyway that this would not upset him.
Although it's going to be a tough loss for Jon. He's not only a very good steward, but he is one of Jon's longtime, well-trusted, well-vetted friends, and that's going to be hard to replace. Yeah.
So Jon complains that he doesn't complain. He just observes that he can't trust the Magnar of Thenn yet. He'd like to have him as a commander of one of the towers, but the hatred that runs so deep with him because Jon killed the Magnar's father is...
it's legit. Styr, his father, was leading the raiding party that Jon betrayed and rode back to Castle Black and warned the Night's Watch of their coming, and then Styr was killed in the attack on Castle Black. So you could certainly see how Sigorn would make that leap.
Yeah.
And remember, he stayed in Moletown. When Jon came to Molestown, gave his pitch, and the 63 wildlings came, the Magnar and the rest of the Thenns stayed in Molestown. They didn't bite on the offer, much to Jon's dismay.
Yeah. Well, he shouldn't have killed his dad. So,
well,
one thing we didn't really mention in the summary is that Jon is sensing things through Ghost, and we're not too surprised by that. The Starks tend to do this with their direwolves,
right?
But he's kind of doing it all the time and unconsciously. Like, he smells things, and he's not sure if it's him smelling it or if it's Ghost smelling it.
Right. Yes. There seems to be increasing, like this bond
and also,
between them.
Less of a step to make it happen. Not like, I'm going to warg with you now, but I'm just warged with you all the time. Sort of like it's a subconscious thing that's developing.
In some ways, that's different than Bran, who you think of as the number one Stark with a connection to his direwolf. But Bran, he makes a conscious effort to warg into Summer. Whereas Jon, this seems to be a free-flowing situation.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, Melisandre did tell Jon, quit fighting it, quit trying to deny this connection. So maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe that's why we're seeing an increase.
Yeah.
Well, probably not, but
probably not. Maybe. It's not like he takes her advice on much. So
right. Maybe Jon's going to follow in Brynden Rivers' footsteps and go from Lord Commander of the Night's Watch to a green seer. Wouldn't Bran be thrilled about that? But we never did answer the question last chapter about whether there can be more than one green seer at the same time.
Right. Good point.
Or at least one and one in training, because that's what we've got going on right now.
So the group of wildlings in the Weirwood Grove are a mess, and it sort of tracks with what we've been experiencing, the times we've touched on what's going on with wildlings north of the Wall in the last couple of books. Since the battle with Stannis, the refugees from that battle north of the Wall are basically scattered, starving, and basically waiting to die. There's not a lot more for them. It does make you wonder how scared they are to surrender at the Wall. I mean, funnily enough, this group, although presumably they don't have a lot of spies and scouting, did know that Mance had been burned at the Wall.
True.
And that was the thing that was convincing them to just lay down and die rather than go south of the Wall.
Yeah, that's true. I guess where some wildlings didn't come back, and some giants didn't. There were giants out at the forest's edge, I believe, and they went off into the woods. So I guess there were some witnesses to what everyone thought was Mance burning.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
They left. But I feel like Tom Barleycorn, he is not suited to be a very good journalist, because the guy buried the lead big time when he came back to report. He came back and said, there are 9 wildlings, some dead or sleeping, mostly women, 1 child. Oh, and there's a giant too. Like, there's a giant too. Did you want to lead with that?
There's an boulder that I don't remember seeing in that weirwood before, but it seems to be breathing.
Yes. You might have wanted to lead with, there's a giant and 8 wildlings.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story tracks with what we've heard from Varamir Sixskins about, when Stannis arrived, they were scattered, and now they're, like you said, wandering and starving. And it's understandable them not trusting Jon's painting of this picture of the sweet life at Castle Black. It kind of reminds me of the sweet story that Ramsay told of him taking care of the women from Winterfell at the Dreadfort, that don't worry, I've taken them in and I'm taking good care of them.
Yeah.
Which,
But I think the key here is Leathers, as you mentioned, because
yes.
Leathers is a free folk, a member of the free folk, and he's telling them in their language, hey, they're feeding us. Yes, they burned Mance, but that's because he wouldn't bend the knee. The rest of us surrendered and we're getting fed and looked after, and you can too.
Yeah.
That's easier than bloodshed right there.
Yeah, Jax and Leathers both. That's 2 wildlings that not only felt like they were well taken care of, they felt like they belonged and wanted to actually become a part of this thing. So yeah, that would probably go a long way.
Again, the one thing about that is I can imagine being can I imagine being a wildling? Let's go with that for a second. I can imagine being a wildling and really hating the Night's Watch, but when the dead rise, finding common cause. That's the one thing. And that's why all the members of the Night's Watch who've got any awareness of the fact the dead are rising, who are anti-wildling, are so annoying to me.
Yeah.
Equally, wildlings who are anti-Night's Watch, when there's a much more existential threat lurking, are annoying to me.
It's time to band together here.
Yeah.
Fight the common cause. But speaking of Mance, while the new recruits are in the process of becoming brothers by saying their vows, and we get to hear a lot of the whole Night's Watch vow in this chapter, and it's pretty neat. We don't have the time to Well, maybe we should have done that. Maybe we should have done a reading.
Yeah, we should have done the whole thing. But you know what? Is it like saying Candyman in front of the mirror 5 times? Might we become members of the Night's Watch if we say it?
That's true. We get through it all, and then we're like, oh no. Now what?
Some grizzly black-coated northerner comes to the door and says, all right then, boys. What?
What? No, we were just playing at that. But yeah, it's pretty neat. So if you get a chance to read it in the chapter, it's worth a read. But while they're saying their prayers, Jon is kind of saying prayers in his head. And he's saying prayers like, gods of my father, please watch over these men. And one of the prayers he thinks of is for Mance to find Arya and bring her safely to Jon. And that's a little bit of a development from the last time we checked in with Jon, because as we left him, he was still kind of in shock that Rattleshirt was actually Mance.
Yeah.
And kind of mulling over the whole thing and not necessarily trusting Melisandre, Mance, or this plan. So
yeah,
it looks like it happened.
Yeah.
It looks like they went forward with it.
And also, it goes to some of his I don't have any sisters, just brothers, is a little bit of for show bluster. He clearly cares for and loves Arya just as much as he always did.
Yes, no matter how hard he tries, he can't separate himself in that way.
So after the vows, Jon brings the entire group home, including the giant, including the dead, which he says he's got a plan for them, but I couldn't figure out what that plan was, unless it was to terrorize the potential rapists in the ice cells.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I don't really believe that, but it would certainly work if they're sharing an ice cell with the dead.
Right. Well, we don't... Yeah, that's the thing. He mysteriously says, I have a use for those corpses, because Emmett says, well, no, why would we bring them back? That's just going to slow us down. Let's chop them up and burn them like we should do. And Jon says, no, I have a use for them. Very mysteriously, we get... And he goes through the effort of bringing them back to Castle Black and putting them in the ice cells. And we get no explanation as to why until we get to spoilers.
And they didn't even have the decency to wake up and walk, you know, I mean, like...
Right, yeah.
Would have been handy if they could have reanimated themselves at that point and then sort of like... Maybe Walking Dead style, you know, on chains, being dragged along after them.
Yeah, if you could just walk faster than they do, you know, at least at the same pace, they just come right along with you.
That also might speed the giant up a little bit.
Yeah, and so, like you said, new mouths to feed. And there's not just more mouths to feed, but a giant to feed. When Bowen Marsh gets wind of this, his head might burst. He might not survive. You brought what? You brought a 14-foot giant with
and
you?
Your plan is to send for someone from Mir to blow glass? That's how you're going to...
That's how you're going to feed this giant? Now, what happens if more giants find out about this and they want to come?
You're killing me, Snow.
I should have never voted for you. But the giant is 14 feet tall.
Which is big for giant, right?
Yeah, bigger than Mag the Mighty. So that's a pretty...
By his name, wasn't one of the smaller ones.
Right. That's nearly twice the size of the mountain. The mountain is supposed to be nearing 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And this giant is 14 feet tall. And it made me wonder who would win in a duel between this giant and the mountain. And I actually spent time pondering that. And I think, despite the size advantage, I think the fact that the mountain is a trained knight, he's trained in fighting, I think that gives him the advantage.
Donald Noy defeated or tied with Mag the Mighty. Yeah. I think that was only because Mag the Mighty's blows were stopped by the narrowness of the tunnel.
Yes.
I think on an open playing field, the giant beats anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his
how do you get inside?
6 feet.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a 6 foot maul, so you know, with a probably 5 foot arm. That's an 11-foot circle around him that you can't get in,
Unless you do, though, Like, he probably
Yeah, I
moves
mean, you're going to
fairly
be quicker
slow.
than him, but oof,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know.
Now we've definitely gotten off track, but I did wonder that for
Yeah.
a good portion of the week. Think about it.
So Jon gets back to a letter from Stannis, where he learns the news that we already knew about the fall of Deepwood Mart. Uh, but we didn't know that Alessar Mormont was involved in the burning of the ships that prevented the Ironborn from escaping.
Yeah.
And Stannis is pretty upbeat. I mean, the mountain clans are with him. Now Bear Island appears to be with him. He's picking up waifs and strays along the way, and they're heading. They're moving. They reckon from 3,000 to 5,000 men. That's a serious force. I mean,
Right.
a damaged and depleted Winterfell could fall to that. A fully garrisoned and in good repair Winterfell could survive any kind of force, but 5,000 when the walls are crumbling and it's only a ragtag bunch inside, that's vulnerable.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good portion of it. I guess 2,000 of the 3,000 are mostly displaced small folk, and Stannis specifically calls out Serwyn, Tallhart, and Hornwood men who were at Winterfell when it fell. And that's important because so far as we know, only Wyman Manderley and Rubbet Glover know of the Bolton's betrayal in that scene. Everyone else thinks it was Theon who...
Help me remember that scene. So was it clear that the Boltons were the ones who were sacking Winterfell?
Well, it was... it was probably chaos, but outside the walls, it was clear that the Boltons turned on the rest of the force. So unless they weren't wearing Bolton sigils, that any who escaped should have a pretty decent idea of the fact that it was the Boltons that betrayed the rest of the North.
Yeah.
Problem is, though, the source. Because, of course, people would expect Stannis to besmirch the Bolton reputation and come up with this wild claim, unless they can vet it themselves through these men.
Yeah, but I don't think Boltons have many friends in the North, so you might be inclined to believe it.
That's true.
Especially if the Tallharts and etc. back him up. You might be give him the benefit of the doubt because it fits with your worldview.
Yeah, if you can reunite these men with their houses and someone can vouch, this is my cousin, I know this guy, he's a Tallhart man through and through, that might go a long way in proving the truth.
Is that the big problem?
No.
No. So you've got in the notes here that Stannis has a looming problem, but I don't know what that is.
Well, so his plan is to march on Winterfell, right? But
Sounds
half
good so
the
far.
reason... Yeah, it does. That's where you want to be, right? If you're in the North, you want to be in Winterfell. That's the home
Burst
base.
my bubble.
Half the reason that Roose moved the wedding to Winterfell is to force Stannis there. His plan is to repeat Ramsay's move that we were just discussing earlier with Roderick at Winterfell, with Arnulf Karstark betraying Stannis and attacking Stannis' force when Stannis thinks that he is that the Karstarks are there to support him.
Yeah, that's a bigger problem.
Yeah, and there's also the issue with the Umbers, because Umbers are on both sides right now because both both Castellans have backed the other side. Yeah. So that reduces their usefulness to either side. But we don't know how big the Karstark's force is, and we do know, according to Stannis, he's got around 5,000 men. So, depending on how big the Karstark force is, will it be enough to overtake Stannis' force? And you'd have to imagine, if Stannis' force is caught between the walls of Winterfell, the Bolton force, and a surprise attack from within their own ranks, that might be enough to...
Pretty troublesome, yes.
Yes.
I agree. So part of the letter also says that Stannis will save your sister if I can, which is good. It's kind of like Jon is quite surprised that he took the time to mention that. You know, it
Right.
wasn't for a king. It's not a big thing, but it matters to Jon.
For
But then
Stannis, it's out of character, though.
and for Stannis, is out of character. But then he follows up with something a little bit more in character for Stannis.
Yeah.
He says, and find a better suitor for her, which is kind of like, I mean, she's still a child. I mean, like,
Right.
you're saving her generally from this, but
Yes, I think
I
that
guess
better
Stannis
suitor
is
line.
gonna Stannis.
First of all, it's hard to find a worse suitor than Ramsay.
True.
But I think that better suitor is read one that fits Stannis' agenda better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what Stannis means, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And as you always say, the Mackelly maxim, the last sentence of the chapter really matters. And the last sentence of this chapter is all about Jon trying to vanquish his doubts and struggling with that. He doesn't know. He knows nothing, but he doesn't know. And that means he's got doubts about everything he's thinking of, you know, sort of like how to handle the wildlings, how to protect the female volunteers, how to grow vegetables to feed a 14-foot giant for the winter. And all of these doubts feels to him like they have to be overcome before he can vanquish his real foes, which are the White Walkers, the others.
Yeah. And like we said at the beginning of our discussion, he's doing a pretty great job for a teen with little experience leading. Yeah. He's thinking steps ahead, unlike Marsh, regarding the vows here in this situation. Yeah. He's thinking outside the box. They're in an unprecedented, challenging, incredibly challenging situation with others and whites on the move, and the king comes and saves the day and hunkers down at the castle and commands to let wildlings through. Then he just up and leaves. I'm not sure that Jeor Mormont would have done much differently than what Jon's done to this point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. So yeah, his confidence looks like it's sort of a bit of a low ebb after all this. You know, and some of it I think is the brainworm that the Boltons planted by inviting him to the wedding, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that aspect, but yeah, sure. I can see that.
All right. Thank you very much for all that. Let's do some spoilers. And remember, if you join us at the upper tiers of the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer levels, including Landed Night, you get the spoiler section. All right. Excellent spoilers.
Thank you.
How about some background?
Okay, well, so Jon has told us a few times that his hero as a young boy was King Daeron I, the young dragon. I believe we told you about Daeron the first time Jon mentioned it, but as that was more than 300 episodes ago, it feels it's appropriate that we discuss him once more. So I'm not going to tell you who Daeron Targaryen's father was, because it's kind of a House of the Dragon spoiler. Oh. So you can look that up yourself if you like. But like Jon said, Daeron climbed to sit atop the Iron Throne at the ripe old age of 14 in 157 AC as the 8th Targaryen king. The teenage king looked at Dorne's status as an independent kingdom and vowed to conquer it. His counselors, on the other hand, urged him to leave it be. Aegon the Conqueror and his sister wives tried and failed twice to bring Dorne into the realm, and they had dragons. To which he responded, "You have a dragon. He stands before you."
Uh-huh.
Yes, the hubris of a 14-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Learning from the mistakes of his predecessors, the young dragon used a 3-pronged attack strategy that was ultimately successful. The Prince of Dorne bent the knee in less than a year after the war began. Although it did cost the lives of 10,000 men. But Daeron did become the first king to conquer the kingdom. So, you know, he always has that. Can't take that away from him, I guess. Yeah. But the death toll continued to rise over the next 3 years due to the Dornish small folks' continued resistance. It's estimated that 40 to 50,000 died in the fighting. Ultimately, Daeron returned to Dorne himself to meet with the Dornish under a peace banner. However, the Dornish betrayed the king's trust and attacked him and his guard. The 18-year-old died fighting with the Valyrian steel sword Blackfire in hand, and he was succeeded by his brother King Baelor the First, aka Baelor the Blessed or the Blessed,
who had other things to worry about than revenge.
Yes, like not sleeping with his sisters.
Right. Comparison with the television show. We kind of skipped over this just a little bit, but Jon really fixates during the reading of the vows, or the recitation of the vows, since they weren't reading them, they have them memorized.
Oh, true.
About that they guard the realms of men. And it occurs to him, and probably hadn't occurred to him the first time he did the vows, that the realms of men aren't defined by the wall, that all of the people north of the wall are humans.
True. Yes.
And so he has that. He thinks about that a little bit, and he thinks, we should all be thinking in these terms, that these are the people we should be defending as well. That idea is actually put into the mouth of Davos in the TV show. Davos tries to convince Jon to join Stannis in defeating the Boltons, because he says he's a threat to the realms of men, and it's the Night's Watch job to protect that, you see. So this idea of extending the definition of what the Night's Watch should be doing based on that was actually given to Davos as an idea. Otherwise, this chapter is pretty much abandoned. There's no sortie north to have vows. Giants just come in and out of the show occasionally, but they're not. There isn't a named one who gets involved.
Okay, well, noble ideas.
Yeah. Pedantry Corner. We've got two things, I think. One is just a character decision, so it doesn't really count, as we've been told. But I'm all for Jon's decision to let the men say their vows at the weirwood. But seriously, can someone not plant one on their side of the wall?
Yes. Why not?
They do grow south of the wall.
Right. Go north. Get some seeds. Make your own ring.
Exactly. A 4-hour round trip into perilous country. And it was 4 hours at the best of times, by the way. This one, they hoped to be back by midnight, and they were back by dawn. So you're talking like 9 hours this trip was.
Right.
And this country is perilous at the best of times, and this is certainly not the best of times.
Agreed.
And all for want of a bit of gardening by any of the last 2,998 Lord Commanders could have solved a problem here. So there you are.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Why has no one ever thought? Why has that never come up?
You know what it is? I bet it's been planted and cut down for firewood like 50 times. Like, they keep doing it, and winter comes in and it's really cold, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just going to cut down that tree."
When they've got the whole gift and new gift, they could make a forest of weirwoods.
They could, yeah, but then they would cut them down.
Yeah, true.
And you have one too.
I do?
You do. We skipped over it earlier. I marked it as pedantry.
Oh, well, where is it? What is it?
Yes, it's perfect. The sentry horn.
Oh, I did put that. Yes.
I marked it for pedantry. We skipped over it, yeah.
I do have one, yes. So when they're approaching at dawn,
towards the
horn.
Wall, yeah.
Towards the wall, yes. There is a horn blast, one single horn blast.
From the wall.
From the wall, which means Rangers returning.
Rangers returning.
One horn blast.
Yeah.
But then Big Little, one of the Rangers accompanying Jon, takes out his horn and blows a response back. And it just goes to the problem with this horn system, because that sounds like not just one horn blast, but 2 horn blasts possibly.
Which means wildlings, which coincidentally there were in this case. So
right,
maybe he was correcting them.
Right. No, it's Rangers and wildlings.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I guess maybe they're relying on the sound being sufficiently different.
Yes, the distance,
but I'm with you. I thought it was kind of I thought that was pedantically wrong to have the horn blast be responded to, which would create a second horn blast.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. The distance, one being blown from your castle, the other being blown from the other side of the wall, would sound different, but
feels like, yeah.
Yes.
If you heard 2 from the castle and then 2 from the distance, you'd be like, why are the wildlings telling us they're coming? That's so strange.
What does 4 horn blasts mean?
So news and notes. I just want to give a shout out to Michelle, who helped us at Carmax today. She was very nice, and she got very interested in the podcast as we were talking, and she said she's going to listen. So I promised to name her, and so Michelle Z at Carmax in Raleigh. Welcome to the listeners.
Yes, and after 307 episodes of listening, she will be a full-fledged
and I told her, I said, I'm
member.
recording episode 307 tonight, just listen out for it. She said, I'm starting from the beginning. So I was like, good for you.
Well, keep going, and hopefully Michelle's hearing this not too far in the distant future.
Yeah. She said she loves podcasts, so, she said, this is going to make you feel old. She never watched Game of Thrones because her parents wouldn't let her watch it. She was too young.
Oh, that does make me feel a bit old. Yes.
We also talked about Star Wars, and she said, I didn't see that in the theater. I was like, no kidding.
No, really. Did her parents see that in the theater?
Exactly.
Well, we don't have much otherwise in the regarding news and notes, but we do have a nice review. I feel like you should read it because
do you want to read it? Because I'll give the response.
Okay, sure. Yes.
How's that?
Usually you often read the ones from Europe, so I was giving you that opportunity.
No,
there,
you take this one.
Happy to read it. So the review is from Sarah Isabel from Apple Podcasts Germany, and the subject is Best A Song of Ice and Fire podcast. Can't live without it. So that's enough said. I don't even know if we need to keep going.
Well, we can't quit now.
Right, true. So the review goes like this. I chose this A Song of Ice and Fire podcast over all the others out there because I first heard Simon talk, and as a European, the English accent just seemed more familiar to me. Simon seems very pleased with himself.
So far.
I felt a bit scammed when I realized Mackelly wasn't actually American, but soon was convinced by his knowledge of the world of A Song of Ice and Fire and the effort he puts into the show. Well, thank you.
I like the fact that this has now gone to sort of like, just Mackelly. Mackelly puts in the effort, and Mackelly has the knowledge, and Simon has this accent, which is okay, Okay, I see.
You do very much put in a lot of effort as well. And you as well know much about this world.
To be fair, she's onto something. I think she's recognized. She's listened enough to go, it seems that Mackelly knows a lot more than Simon.
Not true. Anyway, they quickly became 2 of my favorite podcast hosts. Wow, well, thank you. I now understand much more about the connections between the storylines. I especially love the background section, and I'm thinking of becoming Sustainer just to hear the spoiler talk to give it even more perspective. Please keep up the good work. All the best from Germany. Wow.
Okay. Well, Sarah Isabel, that is very, very nice of you. And it inspired me to learn some German. Okay, so here goes.
Okay. Yes.
So I confidently predict, Mackelly, that you will think, oh, you did a really good job of that. But that's because you don't speak German.
Not a word. No.
All right, here we go. Ich wünschte, ich könnte besser Deutsch sprechen, damit ich mich angemessen für diese nette Bewertung bedanken könnte.
Well said. That
roughly
was fluent.
And I'm really relying on Google Translate for this. That says something like, I wish I spoke better German so that I could thank you properly for your kind review.
Excellent. Well done. Yes, and I agree in English with my American accent. I agree wholeheartedly in that sentiment.
All right, let's conclude this one. We have more mouths to feed at the wall, and one of them sits at the top of a 9-foot elementary canal, so that's gonna
well put.
That's gonna take some filling.
Yes, and the women. Speaking of wildlings at the wall, the women being housed in Castle Black could be a powder keg if a brother does something nefarious.
Yeah,
feels like a ticking time bomb there.
For sure. Jon exhibits, again, to us, but unfortunately never to anyone else but us. You basically have to be a reader of the book to know what a good Lord Commander of the Night's Watch Jon is.
Yes.
Because he just rubs everybody in the Night's Watch the wrong way with everything he does. But we
True.
see why it's the right things to do. Planning greenhouses, protecting the women who will fight for the wall, respecting his new brothers, defending the realms of men, north and south of the wall, which is important.
Good distinction. Yeah. And I just want to know, is Bowen Marsh going to survive the fact that they're not only more mouths to feed, but a giant to feed? That might just do him in.
He's really hungry. You need to fill him back up again. He's looking emaciated. Wait, what?
Wait, what? But seriously, though, Stannis' army has nearly doubled since gaining the Mountain Clan support, which is only good news for Stannis. And Jon, he keeps trying to admonish himself. He's kind of slapping his own wrist. I'm not supposed to take sides here. But he can't help but feel some satisfaction in Stannis' success. And I think that is perfectly acceptable because it was Jon's idea that Stannis go this route. He should feel like I did the right thing by giving Stannis good advice.
Plus, I mean, the Night's Watch doesn't owe any loyalty to Stannis, but the Night's Watch does owe the integrity of the wall to Stannis, you know.
True. Yes.
And so there's a reason for the Night's Watch being somewhat Team Stannis, even if they themselves are not taking part in his attempts to gain the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Perfectly reasonable.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Mance is trying to save Arya, apparently. But Jon questions if the Boltons even truly have her. It still seems a little far-fetched to Jon. And we know he's onto something.
Right. It's funny how close he got with that. Because he has that thought because of Melisandre's vision of the girl on the dying horse, and he thinks, is this just all a ruse to draw Stannis to Winterfell, into some sort of trap? And Roose is trying to ruse the entire North. It is not real, but not for the reasons that Jon thinks that it's not real. So, yeah.
Next week, we are back to Daenerys, who is the congruent eye of so many threads over in Essos now.
Oh, yes. Sure is.
So we'll see how she's getting on. All right, there's 3 ways that you can help us. You can leave us a 5-star rating and a positive review, as Sarah Isabel did. You could buy us a cup of Arbor Gold, or become a sustainer at buymeacoffee.com/ghostharrenhal. There's a tier to match your budget and interest, and the upper tiers get you the spoilers. Or you can make a donation directly to our cause at our website, ghostsofharrenhal.buzzsprout.com.
And hey, if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, well, one thing you could do is you can send us a text. The link is at the top of every episode show notes. Just please keep in mind, we don't have means of responding, but we do enjoy reading them, especially when you say nice things. And if you're interested in keeping up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, well, I suggest you check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal, or on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.